Hi, and welcome to another episode of Leaving the Farm with Pat and Tami. Tonight we've got Jon Carten, Pat, Tami, Katie, and Bo will be joining us shortly. How's everybody doing?
It's been a hectic day, as you know. We have a lot to talk about. I'm anxious to get at it. How are you?
Yeah.
You're muting out or something.
Yep. Okay, here I am. I'm quite pissy, of course. I still haven't slept. I was woken up this morning by privateers at my door, denying the fact that they were privateers. As they terrorized me, they also denied that they were in the action of terrorism. Just having all sorts of fun here. Tonight, we're also being simulcast on These Changing Times, which is great. And we'd also like to give a shout-out to the Bo and Rocco show, found every Wednesday night, 10 to 12 a.m. on freedomslips.com Revolution Radio.
It's getting worse and worse out there.
Right. Well, yeah, it's like rat poison, you know, the frogs in boiling water. They turn the heat up slowly.
You know that we're the longest running show on freedomslips.com?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea that's true, really.
So, go to www.freedomslips.com.
And of course, we're all having a lot of fun today.
The Bo and Rocco show.
Absolutely. On freedomslips.com Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. And what we need to do is start supporting each other. Revolution Radio as well as CMR and others are completely listener supported. And this means that we're not funded by corporate media. We're not funded by such as Walmart or all these other conglomerates. And, the hosts, we do this out of the goodness of our hearts, and the station owners also do so. And to do this, it's quite an expense. So we ask that, because it's listener supported, if you enjoy what we bring to the table and you like what we do, go ahead and support these stations that are actually allowing us these venues in which to get this out to other people. Because without them, what is our voice? We've got to all gather around each other now. And I personally would like to thank everybody. The last 2 weeks here, we've been under attack. Terrorism, domestic terrorism wrought upon us by the banking industry. Thank you, banking industry. Without you, I wouldn't have anything to do. I wouldn't have anything to say. And life would just be life.
We hope for that soon.
Absolutely. But, I believe that this is funner. In all honesty, although I'm tired, we're all worn out. The funniest things have been happening with evidencing their crimes and having them admit exactly what they're doing, when they're doing it, and basically how they're doing it. I'd like to share and start off the show with what actually happened this morning. I'm sorry about the emotional aspects, but it's about 13 minutes. I'd like to share it. From the court allowing them to evict me, they are privateers hired by the bank.
Ma'am, listen to me. They do have paperwork.
No, because this case is still in district court. We transferred this into district court. Thank you. I can't open the door. They are privateers, and they want to hurt
They are police officers.
No, you don't get it. You guys are privateers. You are hired by the bank. You're hired by the bank to hurt
They
me.
are not privateers. They are police
What?
officers
Okay.
doing their job.
Okay, are
If you
they
just
here
go
to
the
enforce
door
law?
and answer and see what they want.
Are they
I'll
here
stay
to...
on the line with you.
Okay, hold on 1 second,
There
okay?
is a uniformed car there also. So
Okay.
please go to the door. I'll stay on the line with you.
Okay, just a minute, okay?
Okay,
Hold
but there
on.
is a uniformed car
I know,
there.
I am very scared. 1 minute, okay?
Oh. All right, just go to the front door and answer it.
No. Just a minute,
Why?
okay?
They are police officers, man. They're my officers. I'm standing here talking to them on the radio also.
Okay, just a minute, okay?
All right.
Now, what are they here for?
They are St. Joseph County Police. They are trying to give you some papers. That's all it is. So open the door so that they can deliver them to you.
Okay, just a minute, okay? Now, tell me what kind of papers they're trying to deliver.
I don't know, ma'am. It's our civil department officers that deliver papers. They need to give it to you.
Okay,
You need to open the door.
Now, I'd like to pause here because I was the victim of this exchange, and he's claiming that these are civil police department or police officers there to serve me papers. When I did end up at the door, I opened the inside door, not the outside glass door, and they, of course, were armed to the teeth. These are not civil entities. These are privateers. These are militia officers armed to the teeth with all the bells and whistles. And at that point in time, you know, I knew they didn't want to serve me any papers. I haven't been served by the bank as a tenant. And what happened this morning, about 4 hours earlier than this, I put a claim on their insurance, Liberty Corporation, which insures all county courts. The reason that was done is that we have evidenced absolute corruption, lawlessness, violation of treaties, violation of international laws, you name it. There hasn't been an officer or entity or court official that has upheld any law whatsoever, including their statutes, code, USC, CFR, any number of things. And this is all on evidence in U.S. District Court. This is all in evidence at that Superior Court. At this time, we still have the maintenance of a case in U.S. District Court, which is because we moved the case to the Court of Original Jurisdiction. Now, Superior Court no longer has jurisdiction, although this rogue judge, David Chaplot, has issued an order to evict me again. This occurred after I maintained the claim on their insurance corporation this morning, about 4 hours prior to this attack. From the court allowing them to evict me, they are privateers hired by the bank.
Listen to me. You have paperwork.
No, because this case is still in district court. We transferred this into district court. It's Thank you. I can't open the door. They are privateers, and they want to hurt me.
They are police officers.
No, you don't get it. You guys are privateers. You are hired by the bank. You're hired by the bank to hurt me.
They are not privateers. They are police
What?
officers doing their job.
Okay, are they here to enforce law?
And answer and see what what they want.
Are they here
I'll stay
to...
on the line with you.
Okay, hold on 1 second,
There
okay?
is a uniform car there also. So
Okay.
please go to the door. I'll stay on the line with you.
Okay, just a minute, okay?
Okay,
Hold
but there
on.
is a uniform car
I know,
there.
I am very scared. 1 minute, okay?
Oh. All right, just go to the front door and answer it.
No. Just a minute,
Why?
okay?
They are police officers, ma'am. They're my officers. I'm standing here talking to them on the radio also.
Okay, just a minute, okay?
All right.
Now, what are they here for?
They are St. Joseph County Police. They are trying to give you some papers. That's all it is. So open the door so that they can deliver them to you.
Okay, just a minute, okay? Now, tell me what kind of papers they're trying to deliver.
I don't know, ma'am. It's our civil department officers that deliver papers. They need to give it to you.
Okay,
But
and
you need to open the door. The officers are there. There's even a uniformed officer there in uniform.
I know their uniforms. Now, the papers that they're trying to hand me...
If you open the door, ma'am, you will find out.
No, I'm scared to death of your officers because...
Scared to be
Yes,
about, ma'am.
there is. They've been trying to evict me on behalf of the bank. The other day, I determined that you work on behalf of the bank. Your officers admitted to me over the phone. Now, I put that on my radio show.
But you need to open the door and talk to
No,
them.
because they want to harm me. These are privateers. They work on behalf of the bank. Now, what...
If you know that you're going to be harmed, why don't you call 16 News? They'll come out there and...
That's why I called 911. I'm reporting to you that there's privateers at my door. Now, in the past,
They are officers at your door trying to deliver some papers.
I spoke to you. I spoke to your office, the police department, on the phone. Okay, listen.
Force their way in. What are you going to do then?
What are you're threatening me, and you're telling me you're not a terrorist or a privateer, and now you're threatening me with privateering. You are threatening me with privateering. You are threatening me with privateering. Now, when I talk to your officers, you just told me that you were going to break into my home without lawful authority. See, I recorded this conversation. I even put it on my radio station. Do you listen to the radio station? My name is Tamara Pepperman. I am being attacked by privateers. Pepperman. I'm being attacked by privateers. No, it's only me. I've been talking to you, and I've been telling you. I need you to stop terrorizing me.
Does he live there with you?
Are you asking me this so that you can prey on me easier?
Ma'am.
No,
All you need to do
I've already
is
been
they're
through
gonna
this
give you the
shit.
paper and walk away.
Okay, now say that again because you're being broadcast on the radio, and I need to have that on record.
Broadcasting on radio. I'm talking to you on the phone on 911 on a tape line.
No, and I have you on radio. See, I have a radio station for my protection because I've been terrorized by your officers. So right now you're broadcasting on the radio so that I can keep myself safe, and I know that you're not going to whack me.
You've got it on radio too, so that if you've got it on radio, then I'm telling you there are police officers that are trying to give you a piece of paper.
And they're only trying to give me a piece of paper, and you can guarantee me your entity, your agency is... And they're not going to try to kill me or anything.
If you call 911, ma'am, you came right into the police department.
Absolutely. And it's being recorded.
Police officers out there to get the paper, walk to the door, open the door, get the paper. How simple is that, ma'am?
No, because your officers are going to attack me.
Does Mr. Alsip live there?
Are you asking me that so that you can prey on me without somebody else
I
here?
am asking you a question, ma'am. Do you want to answer that?
No, sir. I'm scared to death of you.
Okay. Then this conversation's over. You do what you got to do, but the police officers are there to give you a piece of paper.
Okay.
Period.
Can they leave it on the stoop and I will pick it up?
They have to deliver it in person.
No. The bank has to deliver
Have a
things
good
in
day,
person.
ma'am, but they'll be there until somebody comes to the door.
No, because you're terrorizing me, and you're telling me that you're not terrorizing me.
I am advising
You are terrorizing me.
what you need to do.
You are terrorizing me.
Oh my gosh, ma'am.
You just threatened to break my door down. That's a threat. You are terrorizing me.
I didn't break your door down. It says if they need to make entry for that, then they would do what they'd have to do. But I don't know what they're going to do other than they told me they need to deliver a piece of paper to you.
Right. But they, okay,
Then
tell
open
them.
the door and get the paper.
No, thank you, sir. Can you have them leave it on the
Are you
street?
the only one there in the home?
Are you asking me that so that you can prey on me?
No, I'm asking because the officers are wanting to know if you're the only one that's there.
No, I feel like you're
Okay,
casing
you know
the
what?
place. Are you casing the
Open
place?
the door.
What?
Don't go. I'll stay on my orders. Let's not take
No, I want you to leave me alone. I will come to the door. I am coming to the door. I want you to not threaten me.
Knowing all along that there's no paperwork whatsoever. It's just infuriating to listen to.
Absolutely. And not only no paperwork, I've never been served any notice from the bank as evidenced on record. I've been served by sheriff who claims their representation to the bank. I've been served
like a seamless one-man unit, one-team unit.
Absolutely.
No division whatsoever.
No, and that was evidenced earlier this week. And, as I said, now that they are preying on a female, I'd like to open everybody up to what the Federal Reserve is. It is an eleemosynary trust. And the Federal Reserves are all over the world, of course. Reserve accounts, reserve trusts, reserve corporations. They are there to protect females, children, Christians, Jews, Islamics, you name it. That's what that trust is for. And in this, the eleemosynary trusts are there to protect isms. So you have feminism, masculism, yada, 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 yada. This is established by the ecclesiastical law. Under ecclesiastical law, we are all infirm or infants based on the treatise on the law of infants. Now, what's going on is that originally these were accounts to provide for our general welfare, according to Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 and 2, maintaining contract with the corporations that they could be in our space, however, they would pay taxes, duties, imposts, whatever, for the common defense and the general welfare of the United States. Maintaining that means a human. Humans have virtue. Human beings can be maintained on welfare. Now, what happened is the League of Nations, or you know them as Congress, took the original 13 colonies and maintained it as their own. In Article 12 of the Articles of Confederation, they pledged you, the United States, and charged you, the United States, to offset their first bankruptcy. This was done October 15, 1777, in the Articles of Confederation. And the Articles of Confederation is the annex to the League of Nations Charter, or the League of Nations Covenant. Now, what is happening is that the League of Nations, or Congress, has global dominance. They are the New World Order. This is the federal state. Articles of Confederation, League, the word stems from federated, feudal, for lack of a better word. A colony is a farm or landed estate. The original 13 colonies is what the Internal Revenue Service sits in the center of, being the Internal Revenue Generation Service. This is facilitated by court process, 1789 Judiciary Act. What this maintains is that the district courts and circuit courts are established, and anytime you show up in any one of them, the money is generated to the original 13 colonies. So you're not actually going to court in Arizona or Pennsylvania or Yakima County, Washington. What you're doing is, by date or time of the year, you are appearing before one of the original 13 colonies. You are being redistributed by court process. All of your assets are being seized by privateers because you are being taken as a vessel. You're being captured and taken in front of these maritime courts for condemnation and sale. These privateers, they have no idea what they're doing. They think this is law enforcement. They are not enforcing any law whatsoever. Now, recently, we saw something really detrimental happen, and I am praying. I asked the officers today, and I asked Coldwell Banker today to listen to the show tonight, because the whole Dorner exchange out in California was a means of the federal state pitting the citizen against law enforcement. What this does is it creates a net civil war, which is what the League of Nations originally created when they were implementing the same procedures back in the day. This is their function. This is what they do. Yes, this is very disheartening to hear. I'm disheartened. It makes me sad. However, there is hope. Going back to the Eleemosynary Trust, maintained as a Federal Reserve, maintained under the International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund generates special drawing rights to those who protect females, children, elderly, infirm, disabled, veteran, you name it. They are not doing this. The Department of Justice initiates and directs directives to maintain a change. In this change, they are vilifying all males. They are vilifying all males. They do not arrest vicious or violent women. They do not arrest rapist females. This is by Department of Justice directives that they hand out. And you can find these if you go look. I will give them to you if you're in the Skype classes. Now, this is the action of eugenics. This is the action of eugenics. This is not a conspiracy theory. It was Margaret Sanger of Planned Parenthood who ensured that Hitler had an easy means of killing people, offing people, and diagnosing them. Everybody in this country right now is on medication for the most part. They're medicated, they're diagnosed with something. This makes it easier to off you. This makes it much easier to off you or institutionalize you in an already established FEMA camp known as an institution, youth group, youth home, juvenile justice facility, prison, jail, Gitmo, what have you. These are already here. A concentration camp is where people concentrate. This means these are cities. You are all under urban pacification. This morning, when I was under attack by privateers, there were no neighbors to watch. There were no neighbors looking out of their windows. There was nobody around to watch this female get what she got today. This is deplorable. This is urban pacification.
Hey,
and as
Tami,
neighbors,
I was going to ask if I can jump in for a second here. I've been chomping at the bit all day.
Absolutely.
And you know what my bit's like. It's chewed right through. So anyway, first thing we need to do, what's the sniveling little bastard from Coldwell Banker? What's that little faggot's name? And faggot, by the way, is the proper word when you're speaking of kindling for lighting a fire, okay? It's not meant to be detrimental. So anyone that uses that word in regards to another human being, well, you see, when you are actually in defiance of God, well, I won't use the word God because that is an implant, okay? I will use the word the all, creator, all, okay? You're in complete defiance of universal laws of the all. And you...
Did we lose you, Katie?
Are you out?
Calm this shit. So what is that sniveling little bastard's name?
Michael Bronke.
Michael Bronke. Okay,
Bronke.
Oh, Bronicki. Now that you're in my...
BRONICKI.
Okay, well, now that
Phone
you're in
numbers?
No, it's okay. Just give me a second here. I got something to share with little Michael. Hey, Mikey. He'll eat anything. Well, I'll tell you what, bud. I am the perfect mirror of love and compassion, you see. And when you cross my friends, you get the mirror back. You see, because that which you have wished upon those that I love. And actually, Mike, you're one of them. And I love you so much that I'm going to reflect all that beautiful energy that you put forth today as you are standing in between the living souls, Tami, myself, and so many others, and of course the police, who really don't know any better because they're just doing their job, right? That's their excuse, so they can, steal from others so they can feed their own families. But you see, what is really happening here? They want the cops and the people at each other's throats. It's just another divide and conquer tactic. You see, so the longer they can keep cops thinking that they're not human, the longer the cops will come to their job, when actually what they're doing is they are feeding on themselves, humanity. And the longer that this goes on, the more dissension they're trying to create between the people and the police. You see, I know that because I've experienced it firsthand. So what we need to do here is start targeting the sniveling little bastards that are doing it. Okay, Michael? So I'm throwing back your mirror of absolute reflection 1,000-fold, and I am blessing you that which you have blessed others with. And unfortunately, under the golden rule, that which you do unto others, you are actually wishing for yourself. So you see, I do nothing. I just reflect. You did it to yourself. So all that is coming at you is of your own doing. I wish you no ill. You've wished it upon yourself, you silly, silly fool. Carry on.
And if they won't turn, let them be as the dung of the earth.
Absolutely. The people are the meek, you see. And those that are in high and lofty places will come crashing down. And that's just the way it works. The old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Well, you see, in their own delusions of thinking they're controlling a planet through monetary, the whore of Babylon, which is commerce, these guys are sucking on the tits of the whore of Babylon and feasting on her loins after every one has already been there. So enjoy that. Yummy, eh? That's right. Go down on that whore, my friend.
You certainly paint a picture.
Oh, yes, I do. And that's exactly, because I see Mike right in there chowing away on the whore of Babylon where everyone has been before him. Unfortunately, sorry, Mike, you won't partake of me because I'm not with the whore of Babylon. I don't worship the whore of Babylon. I don't have a mark of the beast. I don't have a name, you see. I have a customary calling. I have a sound that I will, react to. But other than that, sorry, I'm not part of your Babylonian whore system. And while I'm at it, let's throw in a little bit of opt-whorism, okay? While, everyone is chasing down the opt carrot and deep-throating that one, they're deep-throating the same whore of Babylon, UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. How much fun is that?
How you can attach yourself to this in any way,
shape, or form,
beyond me.
The law merchant. Come on, the law merchant is passed down by Negotiable Instrument Act. Anybody can look that one up and find out that UCC is the law merchant. Now, I've dissented. I'm not purchasing your laws. This is maintained on court record. To the Coldwell Banker today, this was actually a new one. Coldwell Bank itself has had notice because they were summoned in the U.S. District Court case, and all of a sudden the individual that was assigned whatever is out of the picture. I think that they have in now what I believe to be probably a useful idiot. Now, these officers that showed up today, the thing is that the federal state is pitting the national state now. And in this, they're trying to pit citizens in cops.
They're breaking us up here. Oh, Tami? You still with us?
Tami?
I am...
Yeah, Tami, you're breaking up. They're hacking at you, hon.
And try to repeat that.
And by the way, Santo is listening in now, and he's outraged. I'll toss it out if he's listening now. If you want to come in on the call, just to give your 2 cents worth. The more angels that gather on this one, the more love we can throw out and allow them their own will of self-destruction. That's where I live. I wish no harm upon anyone. I am of absolute love, peace, honor, and truth, and I'll let it do its magic.
Absolutely.
Tami, I wanted you to explain that this is not about a piece of property.
Absolutely not. And when the bank is foreclosing, it's foreclosing on the estate. You can see this in your own mortgage, in your own mortgage documents, in your own warranty deed, in your own deed of trust. Go to the borrower's covenant. The estate has been lawfully seized, and there's no encumbrances on the property. They are defining 2 separate properties there. One is real property, one is personal property. You have the right to do anything you want with your personal property or the building, whatever, but the estate has been lawfully seized. Estate in the law maintains that this is your heirs. Issues, the word issue under the law maintains that this refers to a descendant, a child, an heir. Now, these words have been used against all of us. It's under Babylonian theory, and this is the reason why. I could have been killed this morning. Any number of things could have occurred. I decided to call 911 because I know that they are obligated to record that. I also threw on one of the rooms at the same time, just in case. No human being should have to live anywhere under terrorism. And let me explain terrorism to law enforcement and court officers who are listening. Terrorism is when you terrorize somebody. When they are in a state of fear of losing life or limb, family, home, this is terrorism. Now, psychopaths do not understand this term. They do not realize what terrorism means. They have no idea what a human being looks like or is.
Or feels
this morning, I walked out of the house with a child the age of 10. One of the officers looked over at the child of the age of 10, looked into her eyes, and maintained his hand on his gun. Now, this is terrorism. Now, I have gone 13 years doing this. I have indicted time after time, and the wheels of justice turn slowly, many, many times. However, I have never lost a case. I do not plan on ever losing a case because I only follow God's word and public law. This is something new to psychopaths. God's word never changes. The truth does not bend, nor does it break. Consensus reality is what you know, what you live, what you breathe. You wanted me to contract with you, and I declined your offer. You wanted me to maintain as your citizen. I dissented. This will continue to occur. I am not a citizen of another father. I do not adhere to another father other than God. I do not like your landlord. I do not like Satan. I do not agree with his statutes or statements of compulsion. Now, that being said, I urge you to listen to my audios. I urge you to listen to my show. I urge you to get a copy of Black's Law Dictionary and start reading it, because you have some knowledge that you are lacking, and in this they are trying to pit you against me, brother against brother, sister against sister, mother against daughter, father against son. I have lived this. I have lived every aspect of divide and conquer you can ever imagine. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. However, I will indict you. I will see you in Gitmo. If you act upon another human being with intent to harm, you will find yourself in Gitmo. Going back to the Ilamasonary Trust, The IMF, or the International Monetary Fund, stipulates special drawing rights if you are protecting victims or those in need. You are not doing so at this time. What's going to happen is forfeiture of the Federal Reserve, and you can find this under the Federal Reserve Act 12 USC 341, and in this, Federal Reserve is forfeited by unlawful acts. This is what's in the U.S. District Court case that you didn't care about today, but it applies to you because it takes your public funding. This takes your PERS account. This takes your MERS account. This takes any retirement you ever thought you'd ever have based on the actions of other agents around you. This is not my doing. This evidence is all in the United States District Court file and in the Superior Court case, and you can go down to the courthouse and search for it yourself. Now, who you're following is the bank, and you admitted that you knew this throughout this week. This is on evidence. We put it up on our channels and we put it up on our spaces, and you've decided to wage war against the United States. You've decided to implicate war against the United States. This is also a treasonous act. Not sure if you know about treason, but the punishment for that one is death. Now, please, I urge you to read the which is liberty.
Yeah, Tammy, you were breaking up there. Something about United States Code and treason and hanging and all the rest of that goes along with it. Obviously, someone didn't like that.
Repeat again.
Oh, by the way, Tammy, while we're at it, let's invite these sniveling cowards to, let's join us on the air at area code 661-467-2401. Okay, for you, with the lower IQ, C average, D average kind of people that are generally hired by those forces, I'll say it slower for you. Okay, 661-467-2401. And I know Michael is good with numbers because that's all he plays with all day when he's not playing with himself and going down on the Whore of Babylon. So I would love to have Michael call in. And we're going to make sure that the whole world gets your information, Michael. And it's time for some fun. I'm in a mood.
I agree. They need to be personally held accountable, put into the light. The more people who know and actually step up, and it's one way you can get active, and the more that of us that do this, there's not going to be any place for them to hide. It's not going to be so comfy to be slamming people to the dirt, to be yanking them around, completely disavowing any laws. We have to do this. We have to keep moving these things into the view of everyone. So many are just so numb to what's going on. You think that, some people who are deadbeats are being foreclosed on, and, over here some people don't have jobs because of whatever. This is all a concerted effort, all of it. We have to stand up now. There isn't anyone coming. It's us. We can't wait for fairies and, God bless them, alien beings to come in and step in and take over. It's,
you're the one
are
that
our
came
salvation.
To save you.
We are God. We are I am. We have to do this.
Yeah, you came to save you, no one else. And, so far, no sniveling cowards on the board. You didn't happen to get a name of that 9/11 conspiracy.
Oh, I wish
I'm sure we can probably track down, and we've got a few friends in the game, maybe do some voice analysis if we can find some stuff with this guy on it. Because obviously he was a cop, so it's all right. We have means and what have you. But the bottom line is this. For those that actually got a chance to listen to that recording, and we will it available on a YouTube video very shortly, and we just want everyone to understand right now, first and foremost, that these guys are completely trained. They're dogs. Woof woof. Sit, roll over, fetch. Here's some treats. Go and do it again. That's the mentality of their training. I know I've seen so many of these guys. It's unfortunate, guys and girls. So I'm not going to differentiate here. And it is really, really unfortunate to see the level of degradation of humanity within these individuals that actually, think they're doing something right. But I'm going to go back to the bankers being the divide and conquer tacticians that are pitting the public, the people, the living souls against the cops. And that way, they just sit back and count their money from all the stolen possessions, and they toss down a treat or two. But I just wanted to remind Mike that every time he goes down on that whore of Babylon, that his master's above him and we're there just ahead of him, so he's getting to taste his own poison. Sorry to be so graphic, guys. I'm trying my best to get people to understand what the whore of Babylon is. And when you're playing in commerce, you're going down on that whore of whores where everyone else has been. So get that mental picture in your face. Get it there. Get it so strong, and you'll start to understand what it is. And if it becomes totally repulsive, you understand where I'm coming from. This whole thing that is totally encapsulated mankind. This is how they take over planets. They've been doing this for who knows how long. They come in and they disrupt the planet and they throw commerce in it. And the joy of that is through the lust of the flesh. This whole ego, superego, id thing that they like to implement. They get us killing each other for material things. You're kidding me. At what
it's
point
very separated in people's minds.
Totally.
They're everyone's convinced that this is survival, and you have to do credit to get along, and whatever. It's we have been domesticated to the point of convenience being the height of survival, and the concept of not using a microwave or not being able to get your nails done is oh my God to some people, and they don't connect the dots that. The more that you do this, you're supporting the thrashing of everyone around you.
Well, here's
you are contributing to that.
Pat, and you're absolutely right. Here's the thing: when you are contributing and playing in the whore commerce land, what you're actually doing is harming me and you and everybody that doesn't play in that game.
Well, and we are connected, and that's the other thing that they've completely bullshitted us about. We are not separate entities. We are like a body. We are the cells of a body, and we're totally fucked up because, we live in our little private bubbles, and we think that what we do doesn't affect anybody else, and what they do is their business, and if someone is getting slammed down by a cop, that they must deserve it. We don't want to get involved. Everybody's a coward. They made us so fearful. We're afraid to do anything. We're afraid to step up in any way. And, if this was, I remember the thing with the Krugerrands and people, wouldn't buy the Krugerrands because of the oppression in South Africa and stuff. I mean, this is what's going on here there's a genocide happening. But it's not being televised, so nobody believes it.
No, and that is the reason that I joined myself to this case. Now, I wasn't a party to this case until February. And what had happened was, and I'll start at the back end because everybody needs to know the aspect of eugenics and that it is not a conspiracy theory. Now, the judge's function is as the snake in the garden. Okay? This thing whispers to you, promises you all sorts of shit, wields a hammer, and looks almighty and powerful. And so what's going on is that normally what occurs is the female is lawless. She's made lawless by specialty. And of course she thinks she's being protected when she's being preyed on in this society. Now, what happened in February is without any lawful authority whatsoever, because there was other issues going on, blah, 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 blah. They've been called on all of their evidence crimes. This rogue judge, issued the eviction order back then prior to when I stepped in and I got involved. Now, what normally happens...
How long ago was that?
This was February 6th, I believe. But well prior
of what
to that,
year? This year?
This year, 2013. But what had happened is that well prior to that, they already stole the man's family. His ex-wife took off with their kids to another state. This court is allowing this human trafficking excursion and experience. And this is what their function is. Mom usually moves out of state. Mom then makes false allegations. Mom's protected by the snake. They're holding the gavel. Now, this is all fun and games to these females. This is all fun and games to falsely accuse, be allowed to falsely accuse so they can maintain hold over the children. This is hostage taking, emotional incest, you name it. But what the design is it's eugenics. If you take a man's family and you take a man's job and then you take a man's home and everything else, 35,000 of those men commit suicide every single year in the United States alone, 55,000 in India. This is eugenics. This is a means of depopulation. You only need one stud to breed with a whole bunch of cows. And so these studs on this farm or colony, the original 13 colonies, are being offed. There's no need for them. Again, like Nazi Germany, this is the useless bread gobbler syndrome that the corporations do not like when everybody's extrapolated and the corporations do not maintain on corporate welfare.
You mean after we provide our use and the use is up, they've got to off us or find a way to get us out of the way because we're taking up space?
Absolutely. And what the officers that I dealt with today, what they do not understand, what these court officers do not understand, is that during Nazi Germany, 1928, the company at Schurzau came in as the Bear Corporation, as the Republic of Germany. Germany used to be a republic before it nationalized as well, through acts of enablement. Bear Corporation came in and indemnified Poland. That means that they wanted their money back. The people were not producing. They were all extrapolated. Their value was gone. They offed them. That was what Nazi Germany was. That's what the Holocaust was. It was corporations no longer willing to foot the overhead for a bunch of people on welfare and public jobs. In the United States, right now, at any given moment in time, nobody's on private employ. They are working for the public school system, public court system, law enforcement, banking industries, everything else. This thing is top heavy. We are about to enter into the Holocaust. Another one. What you do not realize is that nobody got out of the Nazi administration except for specific people in the administration, namely psychologists that keep this game going. I am speaking from me to you, to all law enforcement, to all of these officers and agents. You are useful idiots. That is not a derogatory term. You are being used and told you have another function other than your function. At the end of your use, you will be killed by your same handlers that are using you, just like they're doing to me. You look at me and you consider that that is not you, and you breathe a sigh of relief, or you go home at night and you sleep in your bed and you don't think nothing. I am a human being just like you are. I got out of the system about 3 years ago after they killed Nancy Schaefer. Nancy Schaefer did the report to Congress about the corruption of child protection in the United States. In any given year, there's 250,000 children going through the child sex trade industry through child protection and these courts. My brother Bill was murdered. He did a documentary called Innocence Destroyed, and you can find that on YouTube as well, Bill Bowen. Jeff Cefalo was murdered, August 30th, 2010. At that time, I went underground. I've been writing ever since. All I do is indict you. I have no fear of death because you've taken everything I've ever owned, everything I've ever had, everybody I've ever loved. So now it is your time to face me like a man. If you are coming up against human beings with intent, speak your intent. If not, you need to find another place of employment, and you need to do so quickly. They are all under indictment. They are forfeiting the Federal Reserve. They are voluntarily withdrawing from the International Monetary Fund. They have terrorized me and kept me in shackles and bounds for the last 2 weeks. More than this, but the last 2 weeks has been a really fun time in my belief, so I'll mention it again. Now, this is going to end. The USDC court case is not over. I'm not done. You really have no idea what you actually did this last week to out each other. You evidenced the action of piracy. You evidenced kidnapping, harassment, intimidation, stalking as agents.
By the way, I need people to know that cops carry a round in the chamber, which means that there's only between you and them a safety switch. So they are the ones that are completely in control of safety. And when you carry a round in the chamber, you are carrying a gun with intent to kill, commit murder. This is not an attempted murder. This is intent to kill. And that's why I warn people, do not anger these dogs, because every time you come face to face with these banker-programmed dogs, that's all they are, guys, and I need cops to know that. That's all you are. You're a banker-programmed dog, and you're doing their bidding, and they're sitting back making all the money while you go out and put yourself in harm's way and put other people in harm's way. You know, the way a lot of the jarheads they have now like to go about just beating people up. That's the kind of shit and garbage from society. They just announced that they're going to stop actively recruiting from from people with criminal and drug background. And I'm talking drugs. I'm not talking pot. I'm talking the hardcore stuff where they've just came out and said they're going to actively stop recruiting from those areas, which will probably tell you something about what we're dealing with right now. And I'm sure there's lots of good cops out there that can look at some of their fellow cohorts and look at them. And I know I've heard a few cops, higher ranks, call them jarheads, and that's all they are, So I just want to, make that abundantly clear. When a cop is carrying a gun, there's a round in the chamber ready to go, and the only thing stopping him from murdering you is the fact that he is in complete control of your safety with a little switch on the side of that gun. And you did mention, Tami, that during the discourse of today, that each of these officers had their hands on their guns.
Absolutely.
So there was intent to kill.
One of them terrified me more than most things have ever terrified me in my life, and that was the fact that when we walked out of the home, there was a child with us, a 10-year-old child, and this cop looked her in the eye while he maintained his hand on his hip. He did not view her as a child.
What a fucking sicko. God.
Yes, this is psychopathy. And it's not the banks necessarily that are training these officers. This is the Southern Poverty Law Center that maintains the word usage of terrorism or terrorist. You really need to...
See, under definition, though, Tami, only a government is listed under terrorism, acts of terror. Only a government can... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
A letter of marquee allows a business license to a duly licensed privateer. This business license is your corporate charters and your license to go out and implement policy. Policy is not law. When you can injure something, this means that it's being brought into law. Injure. This does not mean it's being harmed. You are charging people with injuring stop signs, injuring stoplights, injuring buildings. And under the Violence Against Women Act, I can only be injured or brought into law. The judge then becomes my pimp. The prosecuting attorney, my pimp. Under the Crimes Against Children Act, children can now only be injured or brought into law. That means that the judge is their pimp. The prosecuting attorney is their pimp. Law enforcement is not enforcing law, they are enforcing policy, and this includes promoting prostitution, which is part of the indictment that's in U.S. District Court as we speak. Now, I'm not playing any more games. I watched a child of 10 today be terrorized by law enforcement. When I was little, I was taught to look up to law enforcement. I look down on them with so much shame now.
No kidding.
So much shame. When a law enforcement officer tells me to contact an attorney, tells me to call the attorney's office, tells me to get an attorney, tells me I qualify for free legal aid, tells me to talk to an attorney again, that they can only talk to attorneys, there is something wrong. That is not law enforcement.
Right.
The Southern Poverty Law Center is a domestic terror cell. They are killing innocent human beings by implementing law enforcement against them. We have done nothing wrong. I adhere only to public law. And that being said, I need to get off my rant for a moment. I've got Bo on the line finally. I'm going to run that little spot again for a few minutes because I don't want people to miss the Bo and Rocco show every Wednesday night from 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. midnight Eastern Standard Time on freedomslips.com, Revolution Radio.
Here, and it's a great show. And the more
it's getting worse and worse out there.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Bo, I gotta tell you. We got some background noise going on.
You know that we're the longest running show on freedomslips.com?
Oh my gosh, I had no idea. That's true, really.
You've got some background noise going on.
www.freedomslips.com.
That's the spot.
Oh, is it? Hang on, Bo. Run it again, Tami, and we'll shut up.
Nope, it's fine. We got Bo. You can explain it.
Yeah, well, this is where all the truth. I mean, I'm talking to real truth radio people. This is where we all gather together and unite forces. That's criticalmassradio.co.uk, or I think it's .com. I'm not sure. I'm so out of the loop on that. Freedomslips.com, QL Television, and Santo did a spot there tonight. AmericanFreedomRadio.com. These are all the stations that are doing their utmost to get the truth out, unadulterated, uncensored, and it's one of the reasons why I take such pride in not running corporate spots, which some stations do. That's their choice. I will not be running any of that garbage. Not on my watch, not on my shows, because I don't.
The main thing is that each, everyone should be supporting and not making digs or slams or, having some sort of a vying for, listeners. We have to be different than the commercial world. We have. This is a responsibility. I mean, if we're going to trash other people who are fighting alongside of us, that's the divide and conquer. That's the same crap that we're taught with the politics and the media, the mental control that keeps us separated from one another in every possible way.
Absolutely.
We talk about enlightenment, but start there. Criminally.
No, it's one of the reasons why I call out, not radio stations in particular, but recently I've had to call out a couple of beings for disparaging certain individuals, and I don't give a shit what your personal opinion is of someone. If they're doing something actively to change this paradigm by exposing things like native genocide, and you start calling them con artists and stuff like that, well, I'm sorry, you're going to come up against me because you're missing the point of the intent, you morons. And that's a perfect divide and conquer, and all you're doing is creating animosity towards yourself. You're making yourself look like a lying piece of shit. You're making yourself look divisive. We have a great responsibility on the air, a great responsibility not only to ourselves, but more importantly to the listeners. Because we are the platform.
There's an energy to this, yeah. There's an energy that goes out. You can feel it, and you know when it's dirty. You know when it's a low frequency vibration, and you know when it's high.
Absolutely, and we have to get back to trust. What has been subverted is trust. We no longer trust each other, and we're going into court and maintaining the judge as a trustee as he sits there at the bank. This is what we've done. This is where we're at, and this is what we need to fix. Trust each other. And, today, again, I'm so thankful for everybody that called in and everything else. We're going to do this. It's just stop trusting the landlord. Stop trusting the Lord God. That is not God. You were told this by Jesus in 1 Corinthians 6. You can only fornicate with the landlord or Lord God by giving it your body. That is the estate. Now, when I did not consent, I was terrorized by these law enforcement officials, by these court officials, by all of these acting under color of law. And that is part of the process. That is what the snake does. That is what snakes do. They whisper the female. They want to divide and conquer her, divide her from the male, so that the male is, it's eugenics, so that the male can be off easily and quietly, while females are shuffled off into institutionalized states or whatever happens to them, so that they can get at the children. And our greatest obligation is to these children. And Bo's on the ready. How are you, Bo?
All righty. Hello, everybody.
Hey, Bo. Good to hear you.
All right. Good to hear you.
Great to hear your voice, my friend. Let's give him hell.
Well, yeah, and it's completely, backwards of what I thought, about, how great this country is, and, everything's going to be wonderful, and it's amazing to think back when I was, say, around 8 or 9 years old, thinking, well, what a wonderful world it's going to be when I get older. Boy, was I mistaken. I still thought it was pretty decent, and just got caught up in the world of commerce for a few decades there. But, this incident that Tami told you about earlier with the Delphi girl and, running off with my offspring, started me down this path. And in the beginning, there was a lot of, pro se, help desk stuff out there, and of course, the good guys, the guys that, get, a few wins here and there, they want to sell their work out, and I simply couldn't afford to, because she took everything, right, cleaned out the bank accounts and the, ran up the credit cards, I had nothing. So I really had to, dive in and do it for myself. Some of these pro se people out there, they're as bad as attorneys. They're just another variant of the law merchant. And yeah, they'll help you for a price. You may or may not have some luck with that. But they won't cut off the derivatives, stop, all the stuff behind the scenes that we know is going on now with the trading and the QSIP numbers, all of that. I'm sure a lot of you know some of that, at least, what's going on. And that's huge, because even if you're pro se going into a court situation, you're still feeding the beast. If you're using common law, statutory law, UCC, courts really just licking their chops some more. I think, he's pro se. Okay, yeah, we'll get him in here, and we can keep this court case going for a long time. And the longer it goes, of course, the more money they make. So, I guess, thankful finally that I found the public law, and just really have only been practicing now since this last year, about halfway through. So it hasn't been that long down this road. And I can tell they don't like it. They don't like it. So, what's going to happen with this indictment, I don't know, but it's like a hot potato. Obviously, the sheriff showed his hand this morning, and he don't want to pick it up. And, as of yet, there's no proof that the prosecuting attorney has picked it up. you know, these guys are all good buddies, right? They probably play golf together or play cards or who knows. So it's kind of up in the air right now where this indictment's going. I don't know how we're going to push that, but I mean, I know it's on the record. So we you know, we need to get that done. And it's like the fox guarding the hen house deal, I'd say. So
I asked them for help, and they didn't want help. We've taken up every aspect of the court process. They violated every law, every one of theirs, every one of the public law, including statutory provisions of RICO. You know, all week I was told that this is a civil matter, and we need to, you know, the law enforcement won't deal with the civil matter. As you can see on the 911 call, the foreclosure matter was referred to as a civil matter. And what are they doing enforcing it? I've broken no law, no public law, statutory, or any other. And I'm up against human trafficking. This happens every single day all across the United States. This last week I got another individual in that is a veteran of the Gulf War. And again, they're pitting citizens and veterans. And veterans are being shit on only by the federal government. He came home from the Gulf and lost his children through the court process, of course, which is common practice. They claimed that because he was a veteran, he wasn't fit to be around children, his own children. And that was the beginning of the onslaught against him after he came home from the Gulf War. At this moment in time, I was contacted because they're trying to steal his family farm. And thankfully, I was contacted by a ex-sheriff who serves as a process server at this time. Now, there are good guys out there. You need to really vet them. This particular individual that is helping me and helping this veteran happened to, at one time, arrest a sheriff and was forced into early retirement upon their arrest of arresting the sheriff. And he knows the corruption. He knows the ins and outs. And we all
not
need
unlike
to,
Dorner.
Absolutely. You know, we need to all stand together and realize that, again, law enforcement, I believe, are useful idiots in the majority. There are some that are maintaining the child sex trade industry on behalf of the courts. And that is a major issue with me, as everybody knows. This is going to stop, and this is going to stop during our time. I will see this finished. I will see them in Gitmo. The most horrifying thing is knowing what these judges, what these attorneys, what these psychologists, what these therapists, what these psychiatrists are doing to children. They are trafficking them amongst each other and using law enforcement against the citizenry to protect their deeds. This system is not just corrupt. This system is completely upside down to anything that you've ever known. This summer, when they sicked a detective on me, I spent 5 hours in talking this individual down. First of all, he was sicked upon me by the Southern Poverty Law Center, who gave him an entirely different description of who I am. So upon meeting me, he was talking to somebody that he didn't know me from Adam, and I didn't meet that description. Throughout the conversation, we spoke about criminal coercion, we spoke about corruption, and kept maintaining that he's been in law enforcement for 18 years. When he first got into law enforcement, he really thought that he could make a difference. change the world by protecting people. During our conversation, he says now it is just a job and he's looking forward to his retirement, but he can't step away because that is his bread and potatoes. What we're dealing with is eugenics, child sex trade industry, female sex trade industry, male slave labor market, ran by court process and attorney. And what we need to do is stop this collectively with each other. Now, the federal state is taking a 90% cut. 90%. What law enforcement officials get paid to do their job, even though it's dangerous, is nothing in comparison to what the federal state is getting. The Board of Governors, the League of Nations, Congress, Senate Judiciary Committee, House of Delegates. These people are all run by the attorneys. These people are all very, very rich at our expense. These people are all vile. And
they do nothing but siphon off our wealth. They don't create anything. They're not people that are entertaining or nice to be around for the most part. Most of them. There's always
parasites.
They're absolutely just parasitical in nature. These are the people that you are, if you're still in that system, that you're being patriotic to by going and voting for them. Doesn't matter which one you vote for. You're still giving your consent. And, you know, it took me a while to see this, but it is what I see now exactly as Tami describes as Stockholm Syndrome. It's really quite sad when you see that aspect of it and how many of the people on this continent and worldwide are caught up in Stockholm Syndrome.
Patriotism is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Religion is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Democratic theory and constitutional theory is patronizing something in exchange for protection. Stockholm Syndrome is patronizing your captor in exchange for protection. In all but one of them, you know who your captor is. Or in all of them, except one, you know who your captor is. Now, when your captor is your government and you're patriotic to it, you are being used as a useful idiot. You are being used as a useful innocent. A lot of your behaviors are learned behaviors from your own family backgrounds, everything else, and you can break this cycle simply by divesting yourself of these titles. You were good before they told you that you were bad. This system relies on teaching you that you are bad. You have to earn the right to be. So you're going to get that speeding ticket. You're going to get that DUI. You're going to get that reckless driving or whatever they want to do to you. Because this teaches you that you're bad. This is Pavlovian. This is learned behavior or Carl Jung's work. And what's happening is that you spend so much of your life earning the right to be. You never are. You're working 40 hours a week and you're coming home to watch TV, to watch television programming, and learn all about yourself taught to you by that magic box. Stop doing this. You need to simply be. All it takes is being, living and breathing and watching out for each other. Part of being is being in a herd. We are animals. We are not something special. We are not something different from any other biology. We die when things happen to us. We hurt. We break. We bleed. We need to realize that all of us bleed the same. We're all the same. We're just manipulated by different means and variances. If you disallow the manipulation by hegemony, which is media, by Hegelian dialectic, which is the ability to pit us by making up stories and false flagging each other, allowing the division, we need to stop these things. We need to simply be. It is not hard to speak the truth. It is not hard to not consent when they offer to contract with you. And that's what's freaked these people out most of all. Before I entered myself into this case, there was already so much terrorism ongoing. After one of the documents was laid down, the fraudulent assignment, notice of fraudulent assignment and proclamation and assignment of general welfare, going back to the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 and 2, the gas company came out and shut off the gas. Now, what this is designed to do is for you to call and seek help, like through LIHEAP or something else. This allows another adhesion contract between you and the state. They've offered you a benefit, thereby you have given up your right. This is the doctrine of election. If you go into court and you maintain that you have rights, due process, I have a right as an individual, man, woman, whatever, you are giving up your benefit. If you go into court and you're fighting for such as a Social Security benefit or something else, you are giving up your rights. This is the doctrine of election. You never get both. Now, you can step out of the doctrine of election by dissenting. Consent is presumed by law unless dissent is shown. Express dissent is shown. Upon dissenting, as per Bouvier's maxims, which are binding of a judge, binding of law enforcement, you don't have to consent. This is reiterated in the 1794 Treaty of Amity, Commerce, and Navigation. It's okay for you to dissent. When you are consenting, they are charging you as a benefit of being a res or citizen of the United States of America. United States of America, if you look at the Articles of Confederation, 1777, you will find is a style or chain of events. It's a word or a string of words. It has nothing to do with the geographical state. The United States Incorporated is a conglomerate mall-like entity consisting of such as counties, sheriff's departments, law enforcement departments, and local states, schools, colleges, you name it. These are foreign states. The difference between a sovereign state and a foreign state is a sovereign state, which can be a human, usually is adhering to public law. A foreign state is one that is adhering to private acts or acts of commerce. The restrictive principle of sovereign immunity says that they do not have immunity if they are acting under acts of commerce and private acts. The Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is located under 28 U.S.C. 97. If you want to read the entire act, you will find that your local court is a foreign state. A bank is an instrumentality of a foreign state. An attorney, depending on his position, is an instrumentality of a foreign state. A citizen cannot sue a foreign state according to the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act as of last November, but a sovereign state can. We came in as the United States. The United States of Being was subverted by the League of Nations by the Articles of Confederation in October 15, 1777. And since that time, the United States has been human trafficked. That is us, you and I. You are trafficked by court process. Each time you are charged with something, you are identified by a QSIP number. Each time you go into family court, you are identified as a QSIP number. Each time you are going through foreclosure, you are identified as a QSIP number. That QSIP number indicates that you are under what is known as debenture.
Now, if you continue to buy into this protection, this is what you have to look forward now with the technology growing and being expanded upon in the United States for drone warfare. And they've told us what's coming in their media. These shows like Terminator and all the rest of it are not just fantasy land. We're here now. We're on the verge of Terminator. This is what our Congress, or the Congress, because it's not my Congress, this is what they're going to be implementing more and more. Now, just recently, the Senate's working on a bill to basically let the nation of Israel pull us into whatever war they start. Our people that fight for the U.S. military will be, pulled into whatever next war they decide to start via false flag, most likely, as you see going on already in Syria with the hired mercenaries backed by the United States and the UN. And it is how they always start wars, by deception. And so now they're trying to get the draft pushed through for the females. So your women and children will be thrown onto the bayonets of Israel's enemies to keep the world safe for fractional reserve banking based on a fictional piece of paper not backed by anything. This is the worldwide mind control that they're after, that you so blindly buy into all of this fictional stuff, money and all the rest of it, that you believe you're doing the right thing and being patriotic to your quote-unquote country for what? To go into, to a stranger's land and kill them because they don't believe in the same banking system as you. It's disgusting, and it's working towards their depopulation plan. So this is what the mean daddy has to offer for us. So given the choice, do you want to continue to consent or, lawfully dissent? Now, if you lawfully dissent, daddy's going to be like a big baby and crying and, no, you can't do that. And even though in their own laws it says you can't. So, in my mind, there's no choice. I've already dissented, and I have no intention of recontracting with these buggers. I'm buggered out. But that's only in the fictional governmental structure. That's not in my fellow human being, because like Tammy's pretty well outlined already, the way we're going in to all court cases now is as United States in rem, et al. In libertas. That means basically for everybody, and we need to have that general welfare reassignment driven home and make it stick, because the corporations were never supposed to be the ones that got the welfare and the benefit off our backs. The original contract was the opposite of that. We were to be compensated for allowing them to exist on our land. And it was only under good behavior, if I'm not mistaken, not polluting the atmosphere, basically what? All of them, DuPont, they all get away with stuff that, if we did in our backyard, we'd have the EPA out there.
And then selling and buying carbon credits to each other to compensate. No human being is being fixed by these. Have you ever received a check from the EPA?
No.
FCC?
No, and
FAA.
And even if I did get a check for them, like, how would I
novate
it without contracting? It's not worth it to cash $1 million check to re-contract with these buggers.
Here's a quick question for all the church-going types. Have you ever received a rebate at the end of the year because they didn't need all of your money? I'm just curious, I don't see any, benefit to the public at large, and I hate using these words, but I'll speak in general terms. That's a very good point. It's like, all the speeding tickets and fines and all the rest of it. I look around a lot of these cities, and based on the money they're generating, I see a lot of shitty roads and, broken down parks, and but they certainly have money to hire more people to, create more apparent debt. It's retarded. So you might want to go to the your local minister, priest, or imam, or whatever the case may be, or check on your local pedophile alert list, and you might find a few of them, and go and ask them what they do with all the extra cash at the end of the month that they don't really need. Just curious.
You're funding them to prey on your children. You're funding them by your federal dollars, 501c3 corporations. You are funding these pedophiles. You are allowing them to be maintained on corporate welfare. This is how Walmart does it. It gets kickbacks. This is how Facebook does it. They all get kickbacks, tax refunds, tax rebates. Trump can go bankrupt on one side, and we foot the bill for that. We are maintaining these corporations on corporate welfare, which is the first and second welfare theorem. In the first and second welfare theorem, children are defined as pollution. Pollution. All they are is product for these corporations. Law enforcement is acting at the behest of these corporations. Law enforcement enforces policy at this time. Law enforcement is not protecting men, women, or children. They are enforcing policy to maintain status quo. They are enforcing eugenics by maintaining under policy, corporate policy. What is the kill rate on a taser? Look that up and you'll be surprised. It's a lot higher than a bullet fired from a gun. These are bloodless murders committed by and perpetrated by such as the Southern Poverty Law Center and others, denoting that the taser is a safer alternative, although all it is a bloodless crime or bloodless type of murder. This is based on media theory. If you don't see blood, it's really not that bad. It was an accident. It's not an accident. You can Google anywhere, taser death, pregnant woman, taser death, elderly woman, taser death, man on a bridge. I was in Spokane when a man was about to commit suicide by jumping off of the Maple Street Bridge. And what had happened is that the law enforcement miraculously showed up and tased him off the bridge to his death, to save him to death. And I was so thankful at that moment in time to know that law enforcement can save me to death too. We have to wake up.
That's insane.
We have to wake up.
Yeah, now what the Attorney-in-Chief's administration is instigating is like billions of dollars in kickbacks to local law enforcement to arm up with tanks and all the rest of this militarized stuff. And I know that goes against some sort of.
I was going to say I'm wondering here, Bo, if all of a sudden these gangs that they arm themselves up against. Just wondering. I haven't seen any of the Hood or the Bloods or the whatever these groups are called. I haven't seen any of them with tanks on the street. So I'm just wondering. Gosh darn, what are they for?
Yeah, haven't we gotten by okay? Without this stuff, it seems like the more stuff they get to protect us with, the worse off we all are.
It's like anticipatory or something. It's like they're trying to pit us against law enforcement, and the visuals they know we react to. So when we see this and we see notice of it, we start getting, rallying and becoming antsy, and then, the same with the Second Amendment. So it kind of puts everybody on edge with a hair trigger finger, and I think that that's what they want, obviously, to keep, the battle down in the peons, the minions, and the what do you call the issues and the off-scouring that they don't want anymore, to just take each other out, and they sit up there and just keep collecting on the injuries.
Right.
With the clean hands doctrine.
Yeah, and taking the focus the whole time, off the real enemy, which, by all forms of logic, you should be able to figure out really easy, but it's hard. They obscure, the good guys and the bad guys. Now, I started dealing with this local sheriff here a couple of years back, and at the time he was located across the street in the county building, and I had to go up to the elevator on the second floor. Before I could get on the elevator, I had to go through metal detector and the security guard. Now the sheriff, resides, or his office is in the county jail, where they have all that stuff already. But the last time when I served the sheriff this paperwork, including the USDC case and the information regarding the indictment, his staff was still there, but there's no metal detectors, no guard now. You can just walk right in now. So I guess since the sheriff isn't there, his
staff is safer.
Yeah, staff is safer or something.
Well, I was going to say a statistical fact is the more cops that are hired in any particular city or town or whatever, crime goes up.
Yeah, more of them are generated.
Gee, gosh darn, I wonder why that happens. Well, it's not that there's more criminals, it's just what they're doing is they're just creating more opportunity, if you will.
Trolling.
The major chop shop for car theft is the local county garage. And if you've ever noticed, I'm from Washington State and northern areas where we get lots of snow and stuff. So most of our county sheds are located, farther out in the county. However, the place that they store salt at and ice melt is surrounded by razor wire. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure that out until I ran into several cases of car thefts and realized that it was law enforcement. Now, burglaries and house robberies, most often the sheriff or local law enforcement officer is also the local locksmith. They have keys to your places.
Okay.
And when the last time when I realized is in my own family, my mother and father's truck was stolen, and upon the not law enforcement finding it, the insurance company found it, and it happened to be located at an impound lot. And so what happens is my parents were told that they could pay ransom for their vehicle or just total it out. And, of course, they chose to total it out and claim the insurance on it because it's stupid to have your vehicle stolen and then parked in an impound lot for ransom, which is what a privateer does. And they will get caught doing this. They will get caught soon. People just have to open their eyes to what's happening. In Spokane, Washington, just a few months ago, there was a sheriff's deputy prowling through the backyards of homes, and an alert female happened to call 911, and they came out and arrested him. And what happened after that is it went into silence, and nothing ever happened to him. These law enforcement officers and sheriffs, like I said, a lot of them are useful idiots. But there's quite a few that are breaking into homes and creating the crime rates so that they can point the finger at you and your children. I mean, and that's the most horrifying to me. Is it when law enforcement knocks on your door and says your child's been a bad child? You look at that uniform and you automatically believe that uniform while your child's telling you, no, I didn't do it. I didn't do anything. And then the officer comes up with some kind of proof or something else manufactured out of the rectum, and you still believe that law enforcement officer over your child. This is, again, back to the displaced trust. You raised that child. You raised that child. And if you are not out teaching your child to shoplift or burglarize or vandalize or anything else, it's very unlikely that your child is actually doing those things. If you do not believe your child at the time that this law enforcement agent comes into your home and falsifies your child, what happens is that child is going to go into a reactive state, and it's going to start acting out. And eventually it will criminalize. But that is a created entity now, created by the system. You need to stand by your children. You need to stand by your wives. You need to stand by your husbands. And if you live with somebody who actually enjoys the other father, you need to get rid of them quickly so that they cannot turn on you and use the court process against you in the action of eugenics.
So very true. So very true. You know, again, this whole system is based and built on divide and conquer, and it's about marginalizing families. It's about marginalizing people. It's about feeding the ego and the greed and the lust and the materialism and all the rest of it. And they've done a bang-up job with most people. Unfortunately, a few of us slip through.
You know, the Gloria Allreds of the world reap major revenue and ego puffery on this very thing.
Absolutely. And you've got, Gloria Allreds on the front. You've got Nancy Grace up on CNN. Things like this. These are not female human beings. These are dyke females. You've got Barbara Boxer and Dianne Feinstein sitting at the Senate Judiciary Committee. And that one alone, that statement alone, you've got feminism and you've got no separation of powers in the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is where your laws are coming from. The Uniform Commercial Code handed out by the Uniform Law Commission. These are attorneys passing these laws. They're laws of commerce, private acts and acts of commerce. And all they are there to do is generate revenue into the hands of many, or a few, away from the hands of the many, using you as fodder. And this is the action of debenture, or debt secured by your own earning power. That is human trafficking. That is perpetual servitude. The CUSIP number is based on debenture. The world goes round based on debenture. This is what is happening. You are being destroyed, destructed, and you are under the action of eugenics. I know how crazy this seems. I've been doing this a long time. These are psychopaths that we're up against. They are not human beings. These are hard concepts for human beings to even contemplate because we do not think like them. We do not speak their language. They are horrifying, and we need to stop them now.
Let me ask you, for listeners who may not have heard this before, you're, lots of women are all about, girl power and all of that, and, liking to work and things like that. How do you define this? The word dyke, in the secular world basically is, one term that is put towards a sexuality. And, maybe if you could clear that up a little?
Absolutely not. And it goes again back to 1 Corinthians 6. Now, I'm going to explain this very carefully. You can only fornicate with the Lord God or a landlord. That means you can only fornicate with somebody who owns your body or if you own their body. That is a psychopath. That is a dyke. This person only views another human being as an object. They do not see them as a human being. They can account them. They can view them as a numerical value. That has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with sexuality whatsoever. You can only fornicate by giving your body to a landlord or having it owned by a landlord or being the landlord of that body.
Okay, cool. And the feminism, separate that from the normal, ambition of females and the thriving life of mothers and the natural female.
Well, the natural female is scared to death. She doesn't know if she's a good mom. She doesn't know if she's a good wife. She doesn't know if she's a good whatever, good sister, good friend, whatever. And she's always striving to glorify. She's always striving to be the best she can be without owning another individual. She does not possess children. She does not possess husbands. She does not possess human beings, period, as things. Only a psychopath, which is foreign to you, foreign to the human, or alien to the human being, can view a human being as an object. Judges do this. Attorneys only account human beings. They only count them. What denomination are you? This question is asked over and over and over again. You fill out financial statements in the court process. The word matter refers to you. You are matter, such as mass and matter. The word issue refers to a descendant, which is your children. Subject, everybody knows what subject is. So what is subject matter? You put yourself there as subject matter. They are viewing you as matter, form. And in this, they can recycle you. You are easily recycled, destroyed, or used in another variant. The only rule for usufruct is that its capacity never diminishes. Usufruct is you. The use, fruct means fruit of the use, usufruct. And what this means when your capacity never diminishes is that they'll use you in 3 different variants: meta, soma, and veda, morality, psychology, and law. You'll be brought into the court process based on morality. You're a bad mom. You're a bad dad. This is poking on your moral aspect of your education. You have been indoctrinated to be a moral being. Psychology. You will be asked to take a psychological evaluation. You will be falsely accused as a nut. You will be falsely accused as an infirm. This is a form of work or debenture. This is how you produce. And of course, veta, which is law. You will be criminalized. If you're not producing as per taxation and consumption, which is the first 1/3 in morality, taxation and consumption of the GDP value, 1/3 of the overall GDP value, 1/3 is in taxation and consumption. You are known by the cards you use, the money you use, everything else. They know exactly what you buy, how much, when, where. And this is measured as a value. You are valued as the consumer good. That is a consumer society. In this, that is 1/3 of the GDP value, gross domestic product. Gross means overall, domestic means of the home, and you all know what product means. The second third of the GDP value is in medicine, psychology, and death. You will produce by going into the hospital, by being killed off by prescription drugs, by accidental drug use, accidental death in hospitals, or a long, prolonged illness caused by the things that you are eating, handed to you by the FDA, handed to them by the Codex Alimentarius or Big Book. The third form of production is 1/3 of the domestic or the GDP is in criminalization. If you are not producing by the medical, psychological, or death industries, taxation, or consumption, you will be falsely accused of committing a heinous crime. 80% of my clients that I've dealt with in the father's rights and men's rights movement have been falsely accused of domestic violence, or falsely accused of child abuse, or falsely accused of sexual abuse of children. This is how you produce. You are being redistributed of every asset you've ever known. Every single value is being taken from you by using your wife, your ex-wife, and holding your children hostage by court process. They will draw this out. You will spend your time throwing your hands up in the air, asking them, why is this happening to me, begging them to put evidence on the court record. They will come back at you with exhibits, which are examples. There's no public law. They're not adhering to public law. This is only to redistribute you and your ex-wife. She is the use, you're the vi, or the life that measures. While your children are
Tami, we have a caller. Would you like to take the call?
Awesome, sure. Let me get over to the board here.
I'm lighting it up. 401.
I already got it. 401, you're hot on the board. Questions or comments?
Yes, hi. I'm Gloria from Rhode Island. And what you spoke about with taking your children and when the police come to the door and say your children have done something, that's happened to my daughter. The police have harassed her and the school, and on and on. And finally, she went to community college because she couldn't go to the high school anymore because they were torturing her. But we're dealing with one of her classmates that they followed him and followed him and followed him and just tormented him so bad, and he started drinking and drugging, and then finally off, you go to, because he got caught doing something, they said, to juvenile court, and then he had to go into juvie, which he was there for 6 months, and then he had to go to a sober house. They kept him there for another 6 months, and then he got out, came home, and then they tortured him again, followed him, local police. And we don't know if he actually did something, but off he goes. Now he's up at he turned 18, now he's at the adult ACI. They've drugged him up, and now he has a lump under his chin, and I don't know, the parents can't get any information because now he's like a state product. And they did a biopsy, and they can't find out what it is, but the mother thinks it's cancer from some of the drugs that they've been giving him. And he's coming back, and now he has to go back out on probation. And he has been a product for these, federally funded programs, and it's just, and they do it to multiple kids in our town. The police will harass them, follow them, and and then just, I don't know what happens, but then they get caught doing something supposedly. But I know of 5 of my daughter's friends that have either committed suicide or ended up in juvie. And the schools will harass them because they're lower level. They would be white-collar workers.
Absolutely.
These boys. And the schools talk them in to they're not good enough, so they quit, and then they have to get their GED. So the statistics for the school look good.
Absolutely.
It's awful.
Absolutely. And what this is called is principal-agent games. It is called game theory. And when you implicate pressure upon a human being, they're going to react in a certain way. Mm-hmm. Everybody reacts in a predetermined outcome in this society because they're socially engineered. They're taught that they need this, they need to have this title, they need to have this title. And what they're not seeing is that when you implement that pressure, it's easy to game after that. Part of the process is that there is a principal agent in the local school. You actually call them a principal. So when it's time to start gaming, they will poke on the parents. They'll come up with an allegation of sexual abuse, child abuse. And what's actually happening, and it's horrifying, is that the child is actually acting out sexually. When the parents are fingered for these actions, the parents jump into defense mode, and of course they're pit from their children, believing that their children are really falsely accusing them. this society is maintained by pharmaceutical dominance. And when these children are put on, such as Seroquel or Ativan, these create amnesia. And these children, when they're sexually abused at school, during school hours, and they're suffering from amnesia, they do feel the effects of sexual abuse or child abuse. However, they do not know who's perpetrating it against them. They do not realize that during the school day they were taken out to the local judges or the local attorneys or local psychologist's office to be sexually abused and then put back into the school at a later time.
Tammy, we got, excuse me, we can roll past the hour, no problem. I just wanted to cut in. We got like 2 minutes left here. We can keep going. Gloria, it is so awesome to hear your voice. I kind of figured that was you calling in. No, it's great. But I just wanted to thank you out to Critical Mass Radio and the crew, Paul, Lisa, and the crew at Critical Mass Radio for giving us this platform every single night of the week.
Thank you.
Where we can bring truth hardcore right in the face of the goons that are destroying this most beautiful place, and we're just letting them know about it, especially little Mikey with a penis the size of a peanut. There we go, because he plays with it every day with his numbers. Anyway, just one more. Just had to, one more dig. Anyway, I love him. He's feeling love tonight. I have generated so much energy at that reflection. I'm going to be checking the newspaper around your parts tomorrow just to see what he did to himself.
Okay. And we need to let everybody know that there will be a video of the entire happenings of this morning on the Syncrenicity YouTube channel. So, check the site for links, and it'll be there within the next hour. Exactly.
And Tammy,
I'm not familiar with that. What is the YouTube again?
Channel. If you go to synchronicity.com, we have our YouTube channel that you can check. But Tammy, while I've got you, and Pat and Bo, I want to continue this on Sunday night.
Okay by me.
You just have to remind me. Yep. Remind me.
Yeah, sorry, I got awful quiet there.
A little exhausting today.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying is, I want to revisit this because I'm pretty sure Sant will want to jump in. And it's St. Patrick's Day, and I'm Irish, and it's how I like celebrating, ramming the truth down the idiots' throats.
Good.
So let's make a plan for Sunday night, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard until March 31st, then we go back to 7 to 9.
You can always go to YouTube and type in Leaving the Pfarm, PFARM, and also find the videos.
Very easily, yes. Good call, Pat. Look at you go. You were
Simplify.
So yes. Simplify.
And Gloria, in your community, please start talking to parents and letting them know what's going on, what's happening. There are several places in the United States. I know that Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin is one of them, where the suicide rate of teenagers is so very high, and it goes far beyond the bounds of anything seen in other places. And what's happening is, in one instance, the Thomas Erbs case, Thomas was murdered by a police officer, and leading up to the murder, Thomas Erbs was falsely accused of sexually abusing a friend of his. His friend went into the local law enforcement agency to report a rape, and he claimed to the officer that he was raped by an Asian male, and this officer started telling him, no, it was Thomas Erbs, who is a white male. And at that time, he was posturing, and during this posture, he was setting it up to look like Thomas Erbs had committed suicide, and in reality, he never did. The rope burns on the beam that was above his head were straight up and down. He was hauled up on the rope. The rope was tied straight up and down the back of his neck. He didn't have any petechiae or broken blood vessels around his eyes, throat, neck, ears, or face, indicating that he was not hung. It was not a suicide by hanging. These documents can all be found over on my Scribd account, by the way, including the police reports of these incidents, which evidence what Todd Johnson had done as a law enforcement agent. Again, nobody wants to investigate. Nobody wants to roll over on their peers. However, children are being slaughtered every day.
Mm-hmm. We have 6- and 7-year-olds hanging themselves.
Absolutely, and most often this is law enforcement, other entities such as Charles Manson was created by the system. He was in and out of juvenile justice.
Mm-hmm.
He was in and out of foster care. He was in and out of Boys and Girls Town, which is a predatory force. And at the end of that, he was set upon Roman Polanski, when Roman Polanski was actually quite vocal on the New World Order and what is happening in the world. And all of a sudden, his wife and his unborn child are slaughtered for no apparent reason. The media espouses some ridiculous story about the Manson family, which was not true. Charles Manson was introduced to Roman Polanski by, what's the name of the Beach Boy, Brian Wilson. And these things are not coincidences. When Nancy Schaefer was murdered, they said that her husband shot her and then himself in the head because he had cancer. 2 weeks later, they said, oh, no, he doesn't have cancer. But they couldn't come up with another excuse. And when they killed George Zancon, one of our brothers, in 2009, this is the case where they said he wiped out his family and then he ran up into the Georgia mountains, buried himself, and shot himself in the head. He was teaching compulsive behavior. He was teaching you why you feel compelled to do the things that you do. And part of that is statutory law. A statute is a statement of compulsion. It pulls you along to be a better boy or better girl, to make you more politically correct. You are not supposed to be politically correct. You're a human being. You're supposed to be correct as to your biology. And what's happening is that everything is so skewed, and you need to get together with parents in your neighborhood, parents in your community, and make sure that the murderers are brought to justice. Make sure that the rapists are brought to justice. And make sure that you're looking at your local law enforcement, FBI agency, CIA, and especially at the Southern Poverty Law Center and the psychologists that surround places like these, because they're maintaining under Delphi. I invite everybody to go, you can Google the Delphi book online. I also give it out in the Skype classes. It is something so imperative for you to learn. Everything in the society is based on Delphi. Medical surveys are based on Delphi surveys. Domestic violence surveys are based on Delphi surveys. Scholastic intent is based on Delphi surveys. Law enforcement, numerical values, Department of Justice is based on Delphi surveys. They handpick the recipient of this survey, such as when they did the domestic violence survey in 2009. This was only sent out to domestic violence shelters. The media reports to us that 1 in 4 females are victims of domestic violence. However, the survey indicated that 1 in 4 females at a domestic violence shelter are victims of domestic violence, because that survey was only sent to domestic violence shelters. It was not sent to the general populace. The Department of Justice stipulates and indicates that 800,000 females each and every year are victims of domestic violence, and that 800,000 males every year in the United States are victims of domestic violence. There are 3 domestic violence shelters in the United States that are for men. 2 of them do not allow them to take their children into them. The rest are female-only domestic violence shelters. This is a place where dyke females, again with the psychopathy, induct females into their little cliques.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when a child is sexually abused by its own gender, such as male-on-male sexual abuse or female-on-female sexual abuse, this is 10 times worse than as if you were, if I was raped or abused by a male, or a male was raped or abused by a female. Is part of the
Since I've moved here to Rhode Island, I have never encountered so many sexually addicted women. You know, in my little country bumpkin world, I lived in upstate New York, and I didn't see people for eons, and I loved it. But anyway, moving here, and there's so many sexually addicted women that can't control it, and I'm like, what? Huh?
Right,
multiple women, and it's like they tell me what, and I'm like, okay, enough information, because it's so foreign to me to have that many sexually addicted women. For me, I've heard of like sexually addicted men, but for women, I've never, 5 off the top of my head I can think of. I've only been here 5 or 6 years.
Right.
And they will blatantly tell you, it's like, like in like how's the weather type conversation. That's how they'll tell me. I'm like, thinking, are you absolutely joking? You don't talk about stuff like that out, just like how's the weather or how was lunch.
Well, but it's normalized behavior for them, and what's happening within feminism is teaching females that they are no thing unless they prove it, and that behavior is called histrionics, or attention-seeking behavior. And what's happening is that at some point in their life, they were not getting attention. They were taught that they were bad, and so they started shaking their ass for attention, or it could be completely normalized behavior from their own mothers.
With sexual abuse, most of these girls were sexually abused.
Right. And it's so horrifying because they're not able to realize the self. They're not able to be. They're always seeking attention because they don't feel good about themselves. And part of that is the detriment that's passed down to the children. The children, again, female children, they're being over-sexualized. Male children, especially male children in this society, the perpetration of emotional incest is so detrimental to them. Mom will step out of a relationship with a male and replace the child as the male in the home. And, it doesn't have to include sexual abuse. However, if she cries and whines and cries in front of the male child or whatever, that male ends up being the parent and protecting her and everything else. The destruction of that male is the effeminate male. He doesn't know how to be. He only knows that he needs to protect a female, regardless of whatever abuse he's gone through at her hands. And when he grows up, he's going to throw himself right into that same thing. And so we need to stop this cycle and hold them up. Now,
isn't there anybody that's normal? I hunker down in my house and I think I better get back to the mountains where there's I'd rather live with a pack of wolves. At least they're going to, because of their behavior, they cower, their head will go down, With people, you can't tell because they're so good at what they do. Like you said, the narcissistic psychopaths.
Right.
It's so easy because they've been doing it for years and years and years and years. And because they're not under the influence and don't act gorky and can't, you know what I mean? They do this completely uninhibited.
Well, a lot of the times, it is not so much with intent as it is normalized behavior because of the legal process, because she's specialized, because she's told, you can get a benefit if you have this or this or this or this. Well, the second she starts viewing that child as an object and enabling her to get a benefit of some kind is when it's all over. That crosses the line into psychopathy. And that's why we see the prevalent child abuse rates. Mothers are the main perpetrator of child abuse. Mothers are the main perpetrator of child murder in the United States. And nobody's realizing of these things because on the flip side, you've got all these Delphi surveys saying that it's males. It is not males. If you look at the 2009 human trafficking report on human trafficking handed out by the United Nations, you'll find that the female is the main perpetrator of female sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, and the male slave labor market. Now, this is supplied by code, by statute. And to do that, what's happening is that, again, the Department of Justice is maintaining their own directives You're not supposed to charge these females. And what they've done is they put all of these dyke females in the schools, and now they're watching your children. So you do, like Bo said, you have the fox watching the hen house.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point in time, everything is in chaos because these children are going to react to the abuse displayed upon them. And upon that reaction, that's when you get falsely accused of child abuse. You know, this game, they have to have product. They have to have the productive human being that goes to work and pokes his buttons for 40 hours a week, and he comes home and he does nothing else, and he consumes like a good little consumptive good, or she consumes like a good little consumptive good. That is what a product is, and everybody needs to realize they need to get out of this cycle of abuse all around.
Mm-hmm.
Find the self. Find the self. Stop earning the right to be. Stop watching over your shoulder to see if you're a good mother or a good sister or a good friend or whatever. Those terminologies, those titles that you hold on to are what is allowing you to be enslaved by this process. Because when you're in the state of being and those around you are in the state of being, nobody's striving to be. Nobody's looking over anybody's shoulder, and everybody's just happy and content. And that's what we're striving for here.
And you just are who you are, and
Absolutely.
That's what, you know. I live in a community, and it's just money oriented, and people will do everything possible. Nobody communicates with each other. When I lived in upstate New York, if you didn't wave driving down the dirt road, that was rude. Do you see what I mean? If you wave here where I am now, it's like, what do they want from me? They look the other way, the people. They're socially retarded. They have no communication skills at all. It's just like robots. They're robots here.
Absolutely, and that's what they require. In an automated society of monkeys pushing buttons.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see this in the research. If you go to the Human Factors and Ergonomics Society, erg means work, nomics means law. So economics, eco means home, nomics means law. So economics are the laws of the home, ergonomics are the laws of work. And what you're taught is that ergonomically correct chair helps you with your back. It doesn't. It helps you be more efficient as a product. And the Human Factors in Ergonomics Society spends its time delving into the interaction between human and machine. And this is what they're striving for. How fast can you poke those buttons to make things work? And on that note, that is where eugenics comes in, because the more automated you are and faster to push those buttons, we don't need that guy over there or that guy over there or that girl over there. And that's why there's a requirement to depopulate. Now, the overhead is way too much, and we can be as efficient because we've got machines now at McDonald's to do all the things for the employees, and we're down to 1 or 2. And this is the process. This is the process, training you to be the most efficient so that they can cut their overhead. And to cut the overhead is Nazi Germany all over again. It's the Holocaust.
I was in Springfield, Massachusetts court with a woman. I was her advocate, ADA advocate, and sitting. They have 2 shifts now, and they call it probate court up there, and it was family court, but everything was. The judge would just take a piece of paper. We're going to be doing case management with you, and we're going to have you. Okay, a girl was out of job, so she was ordered to go out and look for 15 jobs a week and come back, and she has to check in, and, we have this 6-week program for couples to go and learn how to parent. And, every single person that went up in front of this woman, this judge, went into some program. And then the Department of Revenue, if they had arrears in child support, we're going to put you over to the Department of Revenue. Here's a piece of paper. Go over and check with them. And I'm looking, I'm reading it. The Department of Revenue at that courthouse charges 25% to collect the money from the man or woman or whoever has to pay child support arrears. I'm thinking to myself, I want to be in that business. I couldn't believe it, but every one of those people that went up in front of that judge, she'd grab a piece of paper, and it would be, you're going into this program, or this supervised visit programs, or some program. I'm like, aren't we able to just take care of our own families? We don't need all of these programs, and then they just keep you coming back. You know,
guys,
it's like an addiction
guys,
for her, I think, or I don't know. You know, they're public pretenders.
Guys, can I jump in for a sec? The reason why I want to is Gloria's a good friend of Patrice, and Patrice keeps me in the loop like no other. And I email all the time. And Tammy, you and Gloria need to hook up beyond the show because of what I know of what's going on where Gloria is, and the kind of stuff that it's time to plant the seeds elsewhere. And Gloria, the information that Tammy has is exactly what you need. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you don't have a Skype, do you?
I don't know how to do that yet. I've been so busy just running from court to court.
Well, no problem. It's an easy download. It's follow your nose, bouncing ball thing, and it's very, very easy to do. And I would highly recommend at this point to get Skype so we can get you into Tammy's group, and that way I've got contact with you versus recognizing your number when it comes in.
Okay.
Okay? So I just want to kind of put that out there, and that way we can keep you connected so it's not like, oh, there's Gloria finally. She called back in,
Thank God I'm still living. I haven't gotten shoes on my feet yet.
But I tell you, the information that Tammy and Bo and Pat have got in the room and the stuff that I've been garnering, it's time to bring you into the fold so that you can see the most powerful tools you can imagine.
I need some more tools because it feels like I'm just
spinning your wheels, hon. So it's time to put that dragster down the runway.
Right, exactly. I mean, when I have a family court judge, when I was going for Patrice up to the public pretenders there and trying to get some transcripts, and he came up and he just put his little signature in and he denied it. And he looked right at me and he goes, I bet you, Gloria, are glad that I'm retiring. I'm like, and there's lawyers standing behind me. I'm like, where the hell did that come from?
Well,
I didn't know I had poked him so bad.
Well, yeah, you put him in absolute fear, and what Tammy's got is going to put anyone else into absolute devastation. This is about indicting these motherfuckers.
That's what I want to do because I just got the final transcripts for my daughter's child support. Now she's disabled because they were court-ordered my son and my daughter to reunify with my kid's sex offender, and my daughter. The father blocked the door, and that's when she went complex post-traumatic stress. It was like a head injury. She didn't move her head left, right. She had to be stabilized. I didn't know what was going on with her. If I knew now, if I knew then what I know now, she would have never gone to the hospital. But they had drugged her up, and
new game. But I want you to. Have you got a pen handy?
Yes.
I want you to write this down. I want you to write my Skype down.
Okay.
It's KATIE dot RENEE dot THOMPSON. My call sign is Cygnus Trumpets, CYGNUS Trumpets, and I'm a hot blonde.
She's also over on Facebook, too.
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook, are you on Facebook?
Yes.
Okay, Kate.Renee.5, KATE.RENE.5. There's only one E in my Facebook.
And
what's the last part?
Dot the number 5. So Kate.Renee.5.
Okay.
And you can also read up on Syncrenicity. That's where usually you can find Katie. I know she spends a lot of time on CMR and Syncrenicity both.
I'm usually, if you want me, you'll find me on Skype and or Facebook. Syncrenicity right now, we've been hacked, and it's still in the process of being repaired. And the people that were working on it haven't been working on it since Tony's been trying to get himself situated out of harm's way. So yeah, we've been having quite the disruption lately. But
you must be poking some nerves.
Well, yeah, I don't poke them. I stand on them with golf shoes, and there's only 1 minute left.
Right, you just sever them.
Yeah, I just cut them right off. Yeah, so tag me on Facebook, and we need
That's
to
what
get
I'll
you
do
on.
right now because that's the easiest for me right now.
Okay,
but
and
it's
we need to
just
get you on
most...
Skype. I can talk you through Skype via the Facebook messaging. Okay?
Okay, great.
All right. I need you connected with this team.
I have to be because it's just now it's the end, and now I have to go. You know, I'm told. Well, people tell me at the federal court in common law, and you know it's a newbie for me. But I'm ready to go.
Time to start indicting these motherfuckers and show them who's boss.
That's what I want to do. I have to. I'm not afraid anymore. I am not afraid anymore.
None of us are, hon. To the death, baby. This planet gets solved. This is my mother. This is Gaia. I got her back to the death.
Mhm. I mean, we've already had one. He was Patrice's GAL, and my daughter and Patrice and I went up, and you know he did not become a family court judge after we were through with him. And then the psychologist, all of a sudden, you know, had cancer, a brain tumor or something, and you know she died. And you know, there's a couple more people that, you know, the dark. They have to wither away and go away. But
well, you liked our call on, I don't know if you caught the one with Jon Carten, Halo, myself, and Tony the other night, but every time he filed documents, judges died, 12 of them.
That's what I need.
Yeah, well, these are the people that are showing up now, and we can get you in and connected with the right people. We cannot stand alone. We stand together. We do this together.
Exactly. I feel like I'm alone because they're tormenting a girl. I went up and I bailed her out of jail. And when I showed up, it was funny because they're like, huh?
Yeah, head